Hello everyone, I'm back in a very sunny but squelchy Nottinghamshire. I'm at Silverhill Colliery again. I know what you're thinking, what are you doing back there? I thought I'd done all the railway walks out of this colliery, but it turns out there's one I missed. And it's got a crazy story. It's a little mineral line that connected Silverhill Colliery, where I am now, to Brierley Pit or Sutton Colliery, which is about 1.5 miles away. And what it leads me to ask is a question that I never thought I'd be obliged to ask, and that is, why is there a Spanish railway in Nottinghamshire? So this was Silverhill Colliery. Obviously we've been here a few times before, but for those of you that haven't watched previous videos, these are the coal shafts here, one there and one there, and all this was all built up. What they've got here is basically release valves that let out gas, which is still coming out from underground, so don't flick a cigarette at that. That up there is known as Silverhill. It's actually the highest point in the county of Nottinghamshire, I'm pretty sure. It's where the mining statue is at the top. That were the spoil heap. Now down there you had Midland railway lines that went down to Silverhill Colliery and all the way down to Plesley. Through there, through those trees, you had the Great Northern Railway that went off down to Skegby. Now this line, that no one really knows about, and I didn't until last week, came out round here, round the houses, and basically onto the road. So it's quite squelchy underfoot here. I'm pretty sure it's always squelchy here actually, no matter what time of year it is. But obviously once I get out onto the road, it'll be a lot more comfortable underfoot. So this story of this railway starts in Spain in 1936 with the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War. And what you had a war obviously between the nationalists and the Republicans, and both sides were drafting in fighting age men, but particularly engineers and skilled labourers. And so a lot of those people fled the country. I don't blame them, to be honest. They were known as Los Corredores, which I think translates roughly as basically the runners or the fleers, the escapers, whatever. One of those people found himself in England and got a gig at Silverhill Colliery. So we're coming out of the site now. Now, this is the road down, basically through Stanton Hill, and I'm going to follow that because that's actually what the line was sat upon. Now forgive me because it's a main road, so there's a lot of noise going on. But in 1936, like I say, one of these Los Corredores found himself a gig at Silverhill Colliery, and he worked there for around about 3 years until the start of the Second World War in 1939. And then, and this is good timing, what happened was there was a huge call for coal and there was a huge call for fighting age men. Now this is the Midland line that goes out of Silverhill and Silverhill Colliery. So this is the main line that was taking all the coal out there. Now the reason why I say that's significant was because in 1939, when the war started, obviously there was a huge call for fighting age able-bodied men, of course, to go and fight in the Second World War. And you don't get, to be fair, much more able-bodied and fighting age than a coal miner. And so coal miners from Silverhill Pit, from Brierley Pit, and from Silverhill Pit were all called up into the military, so there was a shortage of men. But also, what there was, to go alongside the shortage of men, was there was a huge uptick in the need for coal, obviously for the war effort. So these lines were just jam-packed full of coal trains. And actually, believe it or not, this whole area, these fields here, these were all coal workings as well. So you've got the two big collieries, Silverhill and Silverhill there, and up there in those woods, that's where we're walking to, that was Sutton Colliery or Brierley Pit, but these were all coal workings as well. So they're dragging all this coal out of all these coal workings basically as fast as they possibly could, at the same time as they've got a shortage of men. And so the Stanton Ironworks and Coal Company, which owned all of these pits here, devised a plan to basically share shifts. So the men would do a shift at Silverhill, and then they would take a couple of hours break, and then they would go and they would do a shift at Sutton Colliery. But what the problem with that was then they were clogging up these lines with trains between the two collieries. Because actually, if I turn you around, this Midland line goes across here and then it spurs back in to Sutton Colliery. So there already was a connection between the two collieries. But they needed that line, they needed that space on that track for coal trains. They couldn't be having men. So this mineral line, believe it or not, came down here, literally following the line pretty much of this road. And that plan to do that, to be able to get those men between the two collieries without clogging up those very, very busy coal lines, came from this guy, Tonto De Abril, that had been there for 3 years, having fled the Spanish Civil War. Because it turns out, obviously here he's a coal miner, but back in Spain he was a hella talented and very, very visionary, I guess, engineer. So here we go, we've come further away from that Midland line now. And what the line did, this mineral line, is it actually spurred off here. That guy's just splashed me with that water, amazing. It spurred off here and left the road. And I think we can get off the road here. I think that's a sign just down there, so I'm gonna go and have a look. So this one's a tough one. Very few bits of it show up on maps. Some do. Some parts of it show up on maps, which we're going to come to. But quite a lot of it doesn't. So actually what I've done is I've kind of pieced this together by looking at various historical groups or historical societies' Facebook pages from around this area, from Stanton Hill to Eversall, Silverhill, from Brierley, Colliery. But a lot of it is also me piecing it together in my head and how I think it would be. So let me just put this up now. I've put this together. That red line is what I crudely think is the route of this mineral line. But like I say, there's bits and bobs that I'm probably wrong, but the most of it, I think, for the most part, I think it's correct. Now at this point, if I don't stack it, see there's the road bridge. Now there is another bridge there, and it would have gone across there, but that's modern brick, so it's not that. But it would have crossed, it would have had to have crossed the brook down there. So I'm going to come round and have a look down and see if I can see the stanchions or something. So I'm just going to have a little walk down now and see if I can't see some remains down there. Now the reason why this railway was so clever was because he basically didn't use ballast, and there was very little, if any, engineering, maybe like a bridge or two and a tunnel, which we'll come to, a very short tunnel. But apart from that, there was no need for any engineering. So in around about 1940, by the time it was completed, it was a pretty easy gig. It didn't cost that much money. It didn't take that long to put together. And actually, I was looking into it, and now these modern railways that they build, these high-speed railways, they don't use ballast either. They use something called a slab rail or something, which was very similar to what he was using here, which is basically where the rails essentially sit on the concrete on top of sleepers, but those sleepers have a little bit of give in them, so they can take a little bit of give from the train. Right, let's have a look down here then. Okay. Again, that's. I mean, you'll know better than me in terms of brickwork. Is that 1940s? I mean, it's concrete based. But then, to be fair, when I was looking at the Ashover Light Railway, that was built in the 20s, and that was concrete based as well. So this may well be the bridge. So still sort of clinging to the road there, and then across. Oh my goodness. Mate, got taken right out by that. So as we come up, luckily there's no kids in the play park, otherwise obviously I wouldn't be filming, but we come up and you can just see the tunnel there. Look at that. And that goes in line with it. So now it's a pedestrian tunnel, and you can see there, that looks like a track bed, doesn't it? Like an embankment, and then straight through and through that tunnel. And obviously these buildings came way later. Right, so here we go. It is really squelchy. Now this tunnel, you can see corrugated iron. So obviously it's not built to last, yet here we are in 2024 and it's lasting. Now that's obviously all infilled because a train is not going up there. No chance. But we'll come through. And now if I've done my sums right, we should go through and then to the right, and then we're getting pretty close to Brierley Pit. The beautiful thing about this Spanish railway is not just the fact that it was engineered by a Spaniard, but they actually used Spanish engines. And what it meant was that they could have a standard gauge railway, so it could use all the other running lines as well, and trains could carry on through. But they were lightweight engines, so they could kind of work like a narrow gauge railway. And I actually managed to find some pictures of some of the engines that they used on this line that are actually preserved now in Andalusia, which I think is down Gibraltar way. Now all that back there, that's all infilled, and that's, you know, well, it's not a modern estate, but it's obviously long after that mineral line had gone. This, however, is original. Now this road, back in the day, was a lane. Now forgive me, but off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the lane, but if I put up a map now, you'll be able to see what this lane was called. But now, it's got a different name. And there's your clue. So I'll follow this road down. Wharf Road it's known as now. Now you'll hear wharf and you'll think boats, canals, but it's not always that. At the bottom of this hill, there was actually a wharf, but a coal wharf. And it was known as Skegby Coal Wharf. And if you have a look on old maps, I'll put up now, you can see it, it's actually on there. It's one of the remnants of this walk that actually is showing up on maps, thankfully. Unfortunately though, there's nothing left of it. It's been taken over by modern housing, which is kind of interspersed with some older housing, which I'll show you now. Let's see, look at that, 1899, it's got a date on it there. So I've lost the track bed completely, and obviously I'm playing guesswork, but I'm wondering if this down here is something to do with it, because it dips into a valley and there's not water down there. It's not a stream or a river, and that is going in the right direction, but obviously it's private, so I'm going to have to come round. So this line was built to basically ferry coal miners from one pit to another so they could split their shifts between the two. Apologise for the wind, that's just kicked off for some reason. So I'm walking round the other side of that, what I think was a cutting, because I'm wondering if there's any bridge remains then. If it's that low, I mean, a lot of these roads are new, but maybe there's an older one. Here we go. That looks like a bridge to me, mate. What a touch. Okay, we're nearly at Brierley Pit now. Let me just turn you around. Okay, so there's all the new builds. You can see in the distance, that's Silverhill Colliery. These are miners' cottages, you can tell there, can't you? Now this site here, it's all been completely redeveloped, but this was Sutton Colliery or Brierley Pit. So it's an industrial estate now, so I'm going to come round. So obviously I was talking about the fact that when the Second World War came along, a lot of miners obviously were called off to the battlefield, and so they struggled to get people to do the jobs in these collieries. Well, actually Brierley Pit, as it was known, it's actually Sutton Colliery. Brierley Pit got its name for a similar reason. Basically they couldn't get the staff. And so what they did is they imported a load of men in from a place called Brierley, which I think is in Staffordshire. So it's probably at least an hour from here. They brought them in to work the pit, so then it became locally known as Brierley Pit. And that's the site of the colliery now. Like I say, big white industrial buildings. As a lot of them are, to be fair. A lot of these places I come and visit look quite similar. But if I've done my sums right, it should come across. I mean, all this is new, but the line should have come across through here and then skewed off to the right into those trees there. Now you can walk railways around this park. That Midland spur that I was talking about earlier, you know, I was saying when we were just outside Silverhill Colliery, I was saying that the line actually connected from that spur off that Midland line. You can walk that. I'm pretty sure it's known as the Brierley Link or something, which comes off the Silverhill Trail, which is a really nice walk. I've done it before, it's lovely. So there's the colliery site. The Brierley Link comes down there. Now if there's anything to find, it will basically be, well, it's a needle and haystack, isn't it? As I say, there's very few clues, so I'm just going to stomp around and see if I can see anything that resembles not a forest, basically. There we go. Let's check down here. Hang on, what's this? Absolutely nothing. It's shut. I thought it was shining at me. I thought that was going to be stonework, but it's not. Now, from what I could read, like I say, they're varying accounts and they're pretty old. That there was a platform here, but it was a small platform. It was basically just a little rectangle. don't know why I put myself through it, to be honest, sometimes. I seem to be purposely picking things that are impossible. But where's the joy if it's obvious? Right, now down there is that Brierley link. Ow! Right. I think, hang on. Oh, nearly went there. It is hella squelchy, but I think I've seen a little bit of stonework. Mind you, I thought that before, didn't I? Whoa! Jesus! Wept. Okay, here we go. Hang on a minute. Here we go. That's some kind of platform, isn't it? I mean, it's not very big, but I wouldn't expect it to be very big. It's literally just there to there, but wow, mate, there you go. That is crazy. Look, and there's the end of it there. It just comes to this abrupt end, just hiding away. And there's the other side of it. Look, it's not very big. It's not very big at all, look. But like I say, it wouldn't need to be. Mate, what a result. That was worth nearly stacking it multiple times. So there's your Spanish Railway in Nottinghamshire. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't really expecting to see anything apart from that tunnel, which I actually always thought was just a pedestrian tunnel because I drive past it fairly regularly. But we've got a bit of platform as well. And wow. So what a story. Tonto De Abril, amazing. I love stuff like that. Just quirky stories. As always, thank you so much for watching. It's a beautiful day, but we're not far off the summer now, to be fair. I mean, we're in April already. That's crazy. Years just disappearing. But thank you so much for watching and commenting, subscribing. And what a result. I'm buzzing. Some of you might think that's sad, but I'm buzzing. See you next time.